Welcome to the West Ham Voice. Thank you for joining me on a Wednesday morning. Things are hotting up, aren't they? The summer transfer window is really beginning to come to life, especially for West Ham United. That's without a doubt. On Tuesday night, I'm recording this on Tuesday night, so you'll be watching this on Wednesday morning. I finished off my script for a show that I was going to do, and then I thought I'd just have a look on social media to see if there's any other news. I didn't think there'd be anything. And lo and behold, what did I find? Well, the British domestic transfer bid, highest bid has been made for Declan Rice by Arsenal. £105 million has been bid for the signing of Declan Rice. Look, it hasn't surpassed the British record transfer fee of just under 107 million pounds, which was paid for Enzo Fernandez by Chelsea, but it does exceed the British domestic fee that was paid for Jack Grealish, 100 million pounds, a couple of years ago. But I would imagine that this deal is not over yet, because I think by the time we reach the end of this week, I think we'd have seen the 107 million pounds spent on Fernandes. I think we'll see that smashed. And bear with me, and I'll explain why as I go through this video. The bid that's been offered by Arsenal hasn't been turned down by West Ham United, but it hasn't been fully accepted either. It's reported that the deal, £100 million in cash with £5 million in add-ons. So it exceeds the £90 million bid that was made by Manchester City on Monday night. And it certainly sparked, that actual bid actually sparked Arsenal into action, because my understanding is there was a hurried board meeting convened on Tuesday where they wasted no time in agreeing that they would come back to West Ham United with this bid of £105 million. Now, although it's Arsenal's third bid, many would argue it's their first serious bid, because the first two bids were so lowball they weren't even worth considering. But this one is interesting. This one of £105 million is certainly worth taking notice of without a shadow of a doubt. But the problem, I think, with it is, and why Sullivan hasn't agreed to it completely, is that the payment terms, yet again, are spread over a certain period of time. I don't know what it is, but I'm guessing from what I understand from 6'2", reported earlier today, that it's probably going to be that Arsenal are proposing to pay it over something like 4 or 5 years, which is not an acceptable payment structure for David Sullivan. By the fact that Arsenal are looking to spend big this summer, they will have one eye firmly on financial fair play rules. And I would imagine that's why they want to pay this £100 million spread over a number of years. If that's the case, I guess I think we all thought that would happen because of the previous bids. Sullivan has turned it down, and but not completely. Like I said, he is considering it, and he's happy to negotiate and talk further. But I think in the meantime, what Sullivan's expecting is that another bid is going to come in from Manchester City sometime on Wednesday. Ideally, Sullivan will want the bulk of any deal, any bulk of any money paid up front, and the rest paid over something like around 18 months. But even though the size of the offer is substantial, I've again been told that Sullivan still is holding out for a fee or a valuation of £120 million to sell Declan Rice this summer. So Arsenal's bid, by all means, it's massive. It's a massive step closer to that magical figure of £120 million, but it's still not quite there yet, which kind of leaves the opportunity for Manchester City to step back in and make another offer. Now, the news was broken by David Ornstein of The Athletic late on Tuesday night, as I said. He's also the one that broke the story of the Man City bid that was made on Monday night, the £90 million bid. But the information I was given during Tuesday seemed to suggest that the Man City bid wasn't actually a formal bid. Apparently, they made an inquiry as to how West Ham would respond if Man City were to make an £80 million plus £10 million add-on bid. And of course, they got an emphatic, we would reject that offer. So you see, from my understanding, Man City never actually made an official bid on Monday night. But That's kind of irrelevant now because Arsenal have come storming in and made this £105 million bid. So what next? Well, now that we know that Sullivan's not happy with the payment structure, there will be ongoing negotiations, as I've said, to try and find some kind of agreement. At West Ham, we have our own financial fair play issues, especially with us being in Europe again for the third season in a row, where FFP is more stringent in Europe. So to get a bulk of the transfer money up front will not only ease the pressure on West Ham United, it will also allow us the opportunity to start buying players and strengthening the squad ourselves. So what next for Arsenal? I think the financial pressures that they're under, they're spending big this summer. They're spending something like 200 odd million pounds. So the financial pressures that they're under means that they might struggle to agree a better pay structure for that will suit West Ham United. But even if the payments do get agreed, the valuation is still not there. And that's why I'm expecting, and I think Sullivan and all of West Ham United are expecting Man City to come back in and make a higher bid. And if that's the case, what then with of the Man City of the Arsenal bid? Will they come back again and raise the ante yet again? I don't know. I think Man City are likely to come in and offer maybe £105 million with a few add-ons as well, maybe taking it that bit closer to £120 million. I don't think West Ham United really care about the add-ons, to be quite honest with you. I just think David Sullivan would prefer to see his £120 million valuation realised in one way or another. So, despite the payment structure, which is absolutely important, what next for Arsenal and what next for Man City? If Man City do come back in and make a higher bid, what will Arsenal then do? Well, one area that they haven't yet explored is a bid with players thrown in as well. Now, if that's the case, if Arsenal do decide to go down that road and come back in with another bid plus a player as well, which of their players would West Ham United be remotely interested in? Well, there's one or two. There's, for example, 26-year-old Scottish international left back Kieran Tierney, who's valued at something like 22 million pounds, give or take. Or, of course, there's Nketiah, Eddie Nketiah, that we've apparently been interested in before, 24 years of age. He's also worth around the same sort of money as Tierney is. And he kind of proved himself, didn't he? When Jesus was out injured for Arsenal last season, Nketiah came in and did rather well. Or perhaps there's someone who's slightly more expensive, Emil Smith-Rowe, who's worth kind of £30 million, 22-year-old attacking midfielder. So there are options for Arteta if he wants to up the ante yet again. If Man City come in and make a bigger bid, and Arsenal can't keep offering more and more money, then there is that route. There is that route of making an offer of money plus players. So those are the options. But what about Man City? Are they going to sit back and allow Arsenal to do a deal on Declan Rice with the bid that they've just made? I'm not so sure, to be quite honest with you. It's apparently Pep Guardiola is very serious about getting Declan Rice in at Manchester City. He sees them as the perfect partner in the central midfield with Spanish international Rodri. So we're all expecting Man City to come back in with a higher bid and probably a far better pay structure. Perhaps they'll come in with a bid of, say, £105 million, paying over maybe 18 months, 2 years, which would much suit West Ham United. And then the add-ons. Look, like I said, I don't think West Ham are really that serious about the add-ons. I think what West Ham would probably prefer, to be quite honest with you, from either club, is a decent bid, as has been already, plus players. So what about the players that Man City might offer? Well, there are the continuous stories, of course, that there's maybe a bid and plus Calvin Phillips. Look, I like Calvin Phillips. I think he's a really decent player. 27 years of age. He's not that much. He's not that old, but of course he's older than Declan Rice. And the problem is he's got a few a history of injuries. So I guess if Man City do come in and make a player bid, I think we like to see different players, wouldn't you? perhaps, for example, promising 18-year-old right back Rico Lewis, who's certainly made an impact this season, a bright young prospect, or 21-year-old attacking midfielder Cole Palmer, who's also shown some really decent talent this season in the Man City side. Swap deals like this for youngsters for Declan Rice kind of would ease the pain a little bit more. You know, like Smith Rowe or Palmer or a player like that, plus cash. It will make the transition much easier for West Ham. So it's going to be interesting. But I would imagine that Arteta and Guardiola, the last thing they really want to do is to lose any of their young, bright prospects. The irony, they want to buy our young, bright prospect, but they don't want to lose their own. I get it, to be quite honest with you. Look, as far as West Ham United are concerned, I think that as much as we do not want to see our best players leave, we have been resigned to the fact that Declan Rice is going to be leaving this summer. We've been gearing ourselves up for that for the past 2 seasons. So now that the time has come, everyone at the board, everyone at the club, the fans, the board, etc., we want to get the best possible deal that we can for our biggest talent. He's going to leave a massive hole in midfield, which we've got to find a way of filling. So the ball is firmly in Arsenal's and Man City's court. Apparently, Sullivan is talking to Arsenal about the offer that they've made, but I guess he's waiting for, and I guess it's probably going to happen, that Manchester City will come back in and make a further bid, an improved bid. If that's the case, it's all to play for. Maybe David Sullivan might realise his valuation of £120 million being achieved. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Watch this space. I dare say by the time you watch this video at 8 o'clock on a Wednesday morning, more things will have happened. So do look out for more shows as they come, more stories as they come up. And if you're new to the channel, do hit the subscribe, like, and bell notification to let you know when I'm next on. And thank you very much for watching.